Welcome to our webinar in our new AI revenue agent Hatch. Thank you for joining. We'll just give everyone a few minutes to join before we get started properly. I will just start with a few housekeeping bits. So on the right side, you have a chat and there's also a Q&A. So if you have any questions at all that pop up while you're watching the webinar, please submit them in the Q&A section, and then we will have some time for Q&A at the end. Please feel free to also just pop anything else you want into the chat while we're going. There is also a button today, so if you'd like what you see and you'd like to get in touch with the Turtl team to try out Hatch yourself, then please do click on that button and someone will be in touch. And then just to note that the webinar is being recorded, so you will receive a link to the recording tomorrow, so you can watch it back or send it to a colleague who couldn't make it, or whatever else you'd like to do with it. It is yours. Okay, so we will just wait another minute. If anyone who's joined would just love to pop in the chat, just let us know who you are, where you're joining from. We'd love to know. Calling in from the Yorkshire Dales. Nice. Very nice. I'm based in Cambridgeshire in England. Nick, where are you today?
Just north of London. I'm in St Albans. It's very rainy. I was saying to Eleanor earlier, I really hope it picks up. Yeah, Jenny, same. I hope it picks up before the weekend. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to do with 3 kids. But yeah, that's my problem.
Yeah, I don't mind so much the rainy during the week when you're just working and you're inside and it's not super hot. Don't mind, but when you actually want to go outside and enjoy it, it's not great.
Exactly. Yeah. What's new, right?
No, yeah. What a surprise. Anyone else? Where are you joining from? Laura joining from Canada. Amazing. We've got someone from Dallas, Texas, in the US.
Nice.
Public, nice. We're going global. People from all over the place.
The problem with this is now I have to resist the temptation to look up the weather in all of these places and to compare. It's like an instinct. Oh, Dallas looks amazing. Like 37 degrees, living the dream.
World away from here.
Yeah, nice.
We've got Laura joining from Edinburgh. Very nice.
Yeah, what's going on in Edinburgh?
I'd be very jealous if the weather is better in Edinburgh than it is here right now.
I think it is better, you know.
It's sunny here, yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Nice. This is not a fun game.
Yeah, let's pause on that game. It's a few minutes past, so I think. Oh, great! We've got someone from Romania as well.
Nice.
Fantastic. So I think let's get started. Feel free to carry on chatting. That's completely fine in the chat. So let's get started. I'll just introduce myself. I'm Eleanor. I'm Senior Product Manager here at Turtl, and we're joined today by Nick Mason, who is our CEO and founder. He's going to take us through everything Hatch today, our new AI revenue agent. It's going to be a great presentation. Just quickly, the general agenda for today. So Nick is going to talk through Hatch, how it sits across the entire content journey, from increasing content production efficiency to hyper-personalization, and really revolutionizing how you analyze and optimize your content. So sit tight. I think it's going to be a good one. And without further ado, I will pass over to Nick.
Great. Thank you, Eleanor. I am super excited for this webinar for 2 reasons. Number one, as Eleanor said, there's a huge bunch of stuff. Nice if I didn't join with the cat be alive or dead. So I'm going to stop looking at the chat or I'll get distracted. 2 reasons why I'm super excited for the webinar today. Number one, there's so much cool stuff to show. And number 2, this is the world's first webinar with no slides. Yes, imagine that, a webinar with no slides. So we are going to dive straight in, and we don't have slides, but we do have a diagram. So I am cheating a little bit. One of the great things about Hatch, as we shall see in just a minute, is that it works, as Ellen was alluding to, across the entire content lifecycle. And so we've got this diagram here, this revenue content blueprint, to help explain a little bit more about that. So what is the revenue content blueprint? Well, this is something that we have carefully reverse engineered by working with a number of very successful businesses who are using technology and platforms such as Turtl to connect the dots between their content investments and pipeline and revenue. And as such, we've reverse engineered this revenue content blueprint. We're going to look at the different steps. But what's really critical for today is the role that Hatch can play in making all of these steps faster, reducing friction and increasing value at every stage of the journey. So what we're going to do is step through this one by one and see how Hatch can help with all of these different areas. Hopefully that makes sense. And this is going to form the backdrop, the skeleton for the functionality that we're going to show today. So I'm going to zoom in the top left-hand corner. As with most content projects, we are going to start with content production, and we're going to be looking at how Hatch can help us to produce content faster and to a higher standard than ever possible before, which accelerates time to revenue and obviously reduced cost and production overheads. So here we are. I've jumped straight into a new doc in Turtl, and for people who've used Turtl before, this will look familiar, but also subtly different. We have some new options. We have the familiar start with a template here. We have start from scratch, even more familiar here, or also the ability to import raw PDF content. But we have at the top 3 new AI-enabled options. So firstly, I can choose to paste text in. So if I click here, I'm going to get a text box. If I have my content already pre-written in a Word document, in a Google Doc, I can just take that text, paste it into here, and Hatch will go and take that text and transform it into a fully laid out, ready to go document. We are not going to do this right now today because we're going to look at a different option, but this raw paste text option is always available if that is the form that you have your content in. The other thing that we can do, taking that a step further, is generate from a prompt. So if I don't have my text and I'm happy for Hatch to go and generate my text for me and then build the document, I can use this option. So I could type in, for example, a document for a particular persona on a particular subject. I can pick the document length. I can choose a tone of voice. I can click continue, and Hatch will then go and generate the text and then go and use that text to generate a document. So that's building on the previous option that we saw. And as we can see in the text box here, we can talk about things like audience, goals, and the more specific you are with that, the better. But the thing that I want to show today is the ability to enhance a PDF. So we regularly find that businesses, marketers have already got their content in a PDF. Maybe it's a fully designed PDF, maybe it's just the text that's been signed off, but I can click this option and then drag and drop a PDF in. What I'm going to do today is use the sample PDF. So there's a button here. If you don't have a PDF handy, you can use our sample PDF. And all this is just a straightforward PDF. I think it's about 6 or 7 pages just of text. So with like headings and subheadings and paragraphs and all that good stuff, that's all this is. So I'm going to click there and we're going to use the sample PDF. And I'm going to show you how this works. So I click continue. We upload the PDF, and then I get some image choices. So I can choose to use only the images that were contained in the PDF. That's not much use for me because there weren't any images in the sample PDF. I can say add placeholders, so sort of gray boxes placeholders where I can add my own images later. I can ask Hatch to find matching images from my existing content library. So if you've been using Turtl for a little while, you'll have a range of images uploaded. Hatch will go through and automatically look at those and tag them. And then it will pick relevant images based on what it sees the text is about on the same page, which is pretty cool. The other thing we can do is add new images generated with AI. And we're going to see this in just a bit. But for now, I will pick add best matching images from content library. So all I need to do now, I've got my PDF, I've chosen my image strategy, is just click generate. And what happens is Hatch goes away, it consumes the content, it understands what it's about, it's looking at all of the layouts that I've used previously, and it's basically mixing and matching to come up with a document which is going to be ready for me to tweak and send out. This takes 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to get through to the end. We don't have time for that today, so I'm going to do a Blue Peter and jump over to one that I made earlier. Here we go. So this is the kind of output that you can expect when you upload a PDF, a text document into Hatch. And what you'll see is it's gone through and used branding, it's created chapter pages, it's created content pages, it's used imagery, it's done all sorts, and it's arrived me very, very quickly at a document which is pretty much ready to go. However, as with all AI, we should treat AI as a very, as someone once explained it to me, we should treat AI as a very enthusiastic intern, and we should carefully look at the outputs that it generates for us before we just go and send them out into the market. And Hatch, of course, is no different. So there are a couple of things that I'm going to want to tweak before this document goes out the door, which, as it happens, allows me the perfect opportunity to show some of the more powerful functionality that Hatch has. So if I look at this page here, the text hasn't quite fit onto the page, and you can see it says overflowing here. Normally what I'd have to do is read the text, work out how I can chop it and try and get it to fit, or else bleed it onto another page. Both options are a bit time consuming and not really ideal. So what I can do is just click here and choose rewrite with AI to fit box, sorry. And what's going to happen is Hatch is going to have a look at that text for me, and it's going to make some smart alterations to the text so that it is going to fit within the bounds of that text box. So it should just take a second here. It's taking longer than usual. Come on, Hatch. You could do it. There we go. Phew, I was worried. Demoed Hatch live many times and it's never let me down. I don't know why that took a little longer than usual. Okay. I'm going to do that. Let's hope we don't have any more issues. So Hatch has gone and rewritten the text to fit inside the box. That's the key thing. And so it's allowed me to work much quicker there to get that particular part of the document ready. Moving on from there, Hatch can also help me edit images. So let's say I've got this image here that I'm broadly happy with, but I want to make a couple of tweaks. What I can do is click the three dots again and choose edit image with AI. And when I first saw this, this was one step away from magic. So hopefully you guys watching this will feel the same, because what I can do is I can say to Hatch, please remove the laptops from this image. And as if by magic, I click edit image. And in just a couple of seconds, or usually in a couple of seconds, Hatch is going to come back. There we go. It's actually removed the laptops from the image, and I can just click accept, and Hatch is then going to go and drop the full res image into place in that spot. And if you look closely, everyone still has 5 fingers, which I think is always the mark of good AI. So everyone has 5 fingers, but no one has a laptop. Hatch helping me there tweak an image to my exact specifications really quickly. But we're still not done. We can go further, and let's say this image here, for whatever reason, I don't really like this image. I don't know why. Let's just pretend that I don't. What I can do is I can come in and choose replace image, and I can use Hatch to just describe the image that I wish was there. So I can say an image of a 26, very specific, year-old B2B marketer sipping coffee, always coffee, and looking at some charts on a computer screen. Okay, and I click generate images with AI. Now, what I have done ahead of this, which I haven't shown, is trained a model, an AI model on Turtl's photographic style, so on our in-house photographic style. Now, it's really easy to do. All I had to do was go to the library, which I won't do now because I don't want to interrupt this generation, and choose between, say, 15 and 30 images, which are highly representative of our photographic style. I click those, and then I click a train button, which will appear, and then we go and we train that model. And what that means is that Hatch learns the photographic style, and it means that when I prompt in the way that I've done here, we can then go and generate images in that style which match the requirements of the prompt. So you can see here, Hatch has done a pretty good job. It's given me 4 options. This guy is a little bit too intimate with his coffee mug, so we won't use him. I kind of like this one. So I am going to click here. And again, Hatch is just going to go and generate the full-sized version of this. So we get a nice crisp image when it gets dropped in. And within a couple of seconds, there we go. We've got this lady drinking coffee and looking at charts and looking quite happy. So there you go. That's how Hatch, again, can not only edit images, but also help me to add missing images or to fully replace ones that perhaps don't quite fit. Keeping on, we are still not done with Hatch. There's still more to talk about. We can also translate. So if I've got a page like this and I wish that this was in French, I can come up to Hatch here. I can choose translate. I'm going to pick French, as I said. There we go, French. That's always good. And I can either do the current page or the entire doc. I'm just going to do the current page. I'm going to click translate, and Hatch is going to go through and translate the page. My French isn't very good, but I think that Eleanor actually speaks fluent French, so she can confirm, hopefully at the end of the webinar, that this is pretty good and a very good translation to go and use and to post out into the market. So there we go. Lastly, but not leastly, Hatch can also help me with tone of voice. So if I come in here and I decide, well, actually on this page, this is a little bit stuffy, I don't really like the way it's done, I can choose to rewrite, and I can say, change the tone of voice, let's say to be more informal and playful. I'll just do the current page. and Hatch predictably is going to go away and rewrite that text for me. So Hatch has got all of these features, all of these things that it can do, whether it's importing text, modifying layouts, which we haven't shown today, actually, there's even added emojis, manipulating images, adding images, moving things around, translating, you name it. Hatch is always there with the capabilities that you need to get content out of the door much quicker and to a much higher standard. So there, believe it or not, there's actually more that we could show within the editor that Hatch is capable of, but in the interest of time, we will leave it there. But hopefully that gives you a flavor of just how powerful Hatch can be when you are building content. So coming back to our lovely revenue content blueprint, hopefully we've demonstrated the power of Hatch in this first box, but what about the second one? Content, relevance, and personalization. So we have many businesses using Turtl to send more differentiated, personalized content out into the market, and predictably, Hatch also has a role to play here. So I'm going to jump over to another document here. Now, yeah, this is the right one. So this is very similar to the document that we were just working on, but we are going to take it one step further. So the first thing I'm going to do is come over to personalization tab, and you'll see that I now have some new options. These are fully integrated sort of first-class data providers that we now have in the platform. What that means in practice is I can click 6 Sense, and rather than having to set up all of my personalization fields individually, we already know the fields that 6 Sense is capable of sending. So all I need to do is click that button and I get an automated setup here, which is ready to go and uses all of the data that 6 Sense provides as standard out of the box. All I need to do then is come over to design and start adding my personalization tokens. So as a very simple example, I can take your business, I can click the lightning, and I can change that for name. And that is now going to be substituted for the person or the business's name when we get to the personalization step. In case you are wondering, we are working on the ability for Hatch to go and add these tokens automatically. So what that would be is the ability to click here on the Hatch icon and then say, hey, please add tags and page rules based on the tokens that you're seeing in the personalization tab. And that would mean that you don't even have to do this step. You would just connect 6 Sense, tell Hatch that you want to personalize this document, and it's all ready to go. But once we've got those tokens in, either automatically or manually, I can take this link and load it up, and I can see our document. And all I need to do to personalize this now is click up here and choose batch personalization. Now, previously, the only option that was available was import from 6 Sense, but you'll notice our new first-class data integrations here, and I can click import from 6 Sense. What this is going to do is look up my different 6 Sense segments. So 6 Sense, sorry, I should explain for people who aren't familiar, is a third-party intent data platform. What that means is 6 Sense collects a huge number of signals around what different contacts and companies are researching online, amongst other signals, and makes them available for you as a marketer to go and work with and target and personalize your marketing efforts towards those particular people based on the signals you're seeing. So this is a segment that has been created in 6 Sense in this demo account. So once I pick that segment, apparently there are 100,000 accounts in there, I can click to continue the journey. And what I'm going to do is just finish off the mapping here. And this is really just making sure that 6 Sense is properly connected up to the particular document that we're looking to personalize. There we go. Tick that I haven't done anything naughty. And then we are going to go and generate automatically in just that very short space of time, in this case, 100 personalizations. So this is 100 personalized documents in the space of, probably about 10 seconds is what that workflow took, which if I've done my segmentation in 6 Sense right, will be the right people with showing the right signs of signals of third-party intent, looking at the right types of topic. And based on all of that data, I have now just generated 100 fully personalized content assets that I can use to go and engage those particular contacts and accounts. So if I click preview personalizations, it looks like the covers are still generating. They always take a few seconds. There we go. We're starting to get covers coming through. So you can see all of these different documents being generated so that I can send them out automatically through 6 Sense and start to collect engagement data and so on. So really, really powerful and massively streamlines the personalization process from start to finish. So there we go. That's how Hatch can help us with content relevance and personalization. The next box that we have on here is content promotion. We don't have anything for Hatch on this today, I'm afraid, but that will be fixed in the near-term future, I think. content revenue signals. So this is where people are engaging with our content, and we are able to understand the topics, the themes, the documents that they engage with, so that we can then go and target our follow-up better. And Hatch starts to play a really important role here with our new dashboards, which are now Hatch enabled. So I'm using sample data up here, just to be clear, because I don't want to share any PII. But for people who've already used our new dashboards, hopefully you'll agree that they provide a ton of super actionable insights and far more detail than was available previously around our content, around our audience, around how our personalizations are performing. And there's a huge amount of value in here, but it gets accentuated with Hatch, because you may have noticed this box at the top. And what I can do is basically talk to my analytics. So I'm going to click Ask Hatch AI. The question that's in the box, which is give me headline performance takeaways. And what Hatch does is, based on all of the data that is being served to the user at that time, so taking into account the filters and any timeframes you may have set, Hatch is going to give me performance takeaways. But what I can do is I can ask any question that I like of the data. So I can click here, for example, to use another canned or pre-prepared prompt, and Hatch is going to give me an exec summary of the documents, content types, topics, and channels that are working well. So if you think about the amount of time that you might need to pull something like this together to inform your next action or to report on how your content is performing, Hatch can do this for you in literally seconds, as you can see. And we can dive in more detail. We can ask about, what was it about content production that made it so engaging, etc. And Hatch will come back with really useful answers. So just to show one such example, I could say, what kind of doc should we work on next? And I could have said, what kind of doc should we work on next to achieve a particular goal? But just generically, Hatch is going to come through and show me what I should be doing. So really what this is doing is just turning everyone into a super powerful data analyst. You can imagine it taking a really high performing team days or weeks to be able to surface this type of insight in some cases. So Hatch really making this super accessible. And as I say, this works across content performance, audience. So we're looking at individual readers here, across personalization as well. So Hatch, going back to our diagram, is making it really, really easy to understand those signals that are coming in and plan our next best move. But it doesn't stop there, because Hatch goes even further with some really exciting functionality connected to CRMs. So if I jump back to this next analytics dashboard, we are on this new tab here now labeled revenue. And it's labeled revenue because what I'm showing here is the ability for Turtl and Hatch to connect up to your CRM or MAP to understand pipeline dynamics and how your content is impacting your pipeline that you're generating and your revenue that you are closing. So what Hatch is telling us here is that your content is influencing 6.2 million of pipeline of closed revenue, 13.5 million of pipeline, and that's across 1,700 deals. Hatch can also show you how your content is impacting win rates, ASPs, and time to close. And what we're seeing here, really interestingly, with customers who've been early adopters and beta pilots, is several things. Firstly, content is having a very material impact on things like win rates, sales price, and overall pipeline. But it's also having a far bigger impact than marketers had previously assumed. And it's only when you actually look at the data that you can see the true impact that your content is having. And what we're finding is that's creating really interesting conversations with the business around, well, what are the right levels of investment? How can we get more of this value? And that's all part of the theme that we've seen a lot of in recent quarters around the commercialization of marketing and the need for marketing to be able to demonstrate these types of results. So Hatch being really helpful here. We can also see hidden opportunities to close more pipeline based on engagement. So if we're seeing really high engagement, and obviously, as I say, this is sample data to protect PII, we can tell you which accounts those are, which deals they are, which individuals within those deals are leaning in and reading the content, and also their topics of interest based on Hatch's understanding of what each page is about. So Hatch will actually go and read your content, work out what it's about, and then tell you how that correlated with different people's reading behavior. It can also come in and tell you what's driving revenue based on topic. So we can see some example topics here and the level of revenue that's being driven from those. We drive in and show the exact documents that are correlating with revenue being closed, and also things like content type, source, all of these sorts of things. So what's happening, I should really explain, is that Hatch is looking at what it knows about content consumption. It's looking at opportunities, deals, contacts, and accounts in CRM, in this case in HubSpot, and it's combining the two to understand, how that interaction and engagement with content is correlating or isn't correlating with pipeline generation, pipeline movement, and revenue closed. And yet again, with Hatch, I can come in here and I can ask for some exec summaries. I can ask, what we can do to improve different metrics. And Hatch is going to come back having analyzed all of that data, just as we saw before. And you can ask some really interesting questions. Who are my most engaged leads? Are they in my ICP? And you can tell Hatch through a different screen what your ICP is. And Hatch will then come through and start to tell you, interesting insights around, who you're engaging. Are they actually in your ICP? And what does that mean in terms of what content you should produce next, and recommendations, as you can see here. And Hatch knows a huge amount about different ways that you can use Turtl. So it's really good at next steps with these recommendations. It can point you in the direction of things that you can do next to accentuate the value that you're driving. So that's pretty exciting functionality, that ability to connect content investments all the way up to revenue and what you should do next to accentuate that value. But we can also go a little bit further and actually push those insights all the way back to your CRM. So we're looking at a sandbox HubSpot here. I've cleverly, anonymized the PII. Very proud of myself for that. But what we can do is push into your CRM a Turtl engagement score. So how engaged is this individual contact over the last month? And we can also push in those trending topics, right? And this gets really interesting because this then allows you to direct onward sales effort and onward marketing effort from within your existing systems. So you could very easily build a list or a campaign to put in front of the sales or the marketing team to say, hey, here are 100 most engaged Turtl readers from the last month. Here are their topics of interest. Go and reach out, go and speak to those people about those particular topics and see what conversations you can have. And we've got some really impressive success stories of people doing that to do things like, generate millions in revenue in just a few short months, double win rates, and all kinds of stuff just by having the right conversation with the right person at the right time, driven by these first party intent signals that can be generated and pushed into your CRM. So I feel like we've covered an awful lot in a very short space of time. Hopefully I'm not going too quickly and bamboozling everyone. But this takes us over now to the left-hand side of the diagram with target intelligence. And actually, we have covered this already because this refers to that data from 6sense, Demandbase, and those other players that can then be driven into this loop to go and improve the content that we produce based on knowledge from these signals, and then ultimately personalize it, as we saw just a few moments ago. So zooming out and taken as a whole, hopefully what I've shown you is the different stages that you go through to follow this revenue content blueprint, from production to personalization, promotion, signals, management and reporting, and back through to that target intelligence. And I've hopefully also shown how Hatch can help us to turn that cycle ever faster, because this is really all about learning, iterating, acting on feedback loops. And the role that Hatch plays here is making it easier to tie these different boxes together and faster and more frictionless to execute in each one to an incredibly high standard. So as you can tell, we're incredibly excited about what this is going to do and what this is going to mean for people who are operating their content in this way, and frankly in any way. And so that is Hatch. That is what we have to share today. And hopefully you're at least half as excited as I am. I think I've covered everything. I don't think I've missed a single bit. So Eleanor, with a couple of minutes to go, I wonder if we have any questions.
Thank you, Nick. That was really interesting. And we have had a very active chat throughout, so I'm glad people have been engaging. We did have a couple of questions come through that our wonderful Ben McGill has actually been answering while you've been talking.
Oh, nice.
So super efficient. We had Sophie mention that potentially one of the images that you chose, the woman had 3 arms.
Oh, no.
Which is always great. And she sounds very good at multitasking. Maybe that would be useful for all of us. I think there is a question that's just come through. Let me just read it out. Do you guys have any thoughts or best practices on how a team can organize themselves around Turtl? I see this being co-opted by everyone, and that's great for efficiency, but then can get quite messy. And then the second message to come with that, you know, everyone from content to campaigns to ABM to product marketing, who should run it? Is there a permission trail?
Great and complicated question. Good to dive in at the deep end. I can answer the easy bit. There is a permission trail, so that's good. We log all the things that people are doing, which is really good. I think I'm going to cop out a little bit, I'm afraid, Kirsty. I think it really depends on the team setup. I think that we've got a range of different permission levels. We've got different workspaces. We've got different things that you can add people to. I think it really comes down to just configuring the permissions and the different sort of workspaces and teams and folders that we have in Turtl in such a way that everyone can get what they need. And we've seen people do some quite complicated, sophisticated, let's say, workflows and team management systems within the platform to make sure that everyone can do what they need to do without treading on each other's toes. So it would be something that we just need to look at in your particular case. Hopefully that's not too much of a cop out, but it really does depend.
Yeah, I think you know, it's a good point out. We've got a really quite a wide range of roles and extra permissions that come with that. So there is quite a lot that you can do with roles in terms of giving people different functionality that they can use within Turtl. Great. So another question that we've got is, how is Hatch different from other AI tools we've seen in marketing platforms?
That is a great question. I think the most important thing is that while Hatch can do sort of point solutions, like we saw Hatch do things like generate images or remove laptops and give people extra arms, the really important thing and the thing that sets Hatch apart is that it works across and understands the entire content lifecycle. So when we're looking at those questions, particularly at the end around what's driving revenue, Hatch isn't just looking at the data, it's also understanding your content. What is your content about? How long is it? What type of imagery, what type of themes are you talking about? So it's looking across the whole piece. So while it can do those tactical suggestions to speed you up in various different places, it also understands and has the data for the entire content journey. And you know, we've been collecting that data in anonymized form for like nearly a decade now. And so there's a huge amount of underlying knowledge that Hatch has in its brain around what works, what doesn't work, what it's seen work previously, that it leverages to answer all of these questions. And so it's got that incredibly powerful wide view. So it can really be that sort of much more than just a co-pilot. It can really help to steer strategy and make good decisions and recommendations based on all of that data. So that's how it really differs to sort of more tactical co-pilots.
Thank you, Nick. Another question that's come through is, does Hatch have to be added to our account? Is there an additional cost, or is it included?
Can I pass that one to you, Eleanor? That's not in my. Perhaps we can get back to people on that. That's not
Yeah,
something
so we have new packages that will include AI, and each one includes a different amount of credits. So I think if you check the pricing on our website, I believe that will be updated now. So existing customers, we will be, I think your CSMs will be reaching out to you to discuss those new packages and how to move you on to using Hatch.
great.
Another question is, how does Hatch help us move faster without sacrificing brand consistency?
That is a lovely question. So as we've seen with the creation aspect, when we looked at Hatch there, it knows about all of my brand sort of assets. So if you think about setting up your brand theme in Turtl, Hatch obviously knows about that, but it also knows, as I spoke about image style. So it can leverage that, but you can also tell it things about things like tone of voice, particular words that you need sort of not translated or messed with when Hatch is doing any rewriting. So you can configure it so that it really understands the detail of your brand, both visually and in terms of tone of voice and things like that. And so you can customize to a high degree. And that means that, as I think the question was, you can move quickly and not sacrifice any of that brand fidelity, which is obviously a really important thing. There's no use like doing it quickly if you can't send it out the door. So we've put quite a lot of effort and thought into how we can make that happen.
Great stuff. I think we are out of time, but that covered everyone's questions that came through. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Nick, for doing the presentation and for the Q&A there. That was really useful as well. If you are interested in Hatch from watching this, please do click the CTA in the top right corner of your screen, and then one of the team will be in touch with you shortly. if you have any questions still that pop up that weren't answered today, then please feel free to email us and someone will be in touch. And yeah, that's everything. So have a great day, everyone.
Awesome.
Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.